The Venezuela situation is very simple. That's it. It's one of these two is true. Guys, the United States is bad. US is bad. US equals bad. And the US wants oil just like Iraq. Or option two, wait, no, US equals good. And dictators are bad. We freed Venezuela. It's one or the other. No. Guys, it's one or the other. That's the way it is. I don't make the yo, guys, one's in the chat if US is bad, two's in the chat if US is good. Wait, but Trump said it's about oil, so it is about oil. Oh. What is it? PLV. What's the nationalized oil company, chat? PLV. Fuck, what is it? You know what I'm talking about? On their oil. Wait a minute. The economic well-being of the people of Venezuela is dependent on their oil. So wait, now we're getting into more complicated things. Okay, wait. U.S. infrastructure and Venezuelan oil are tied to each other because of the heavy refineries that are U.S. owned that can actually refine heavier crude oil. Wait. Venezuela. Am I spelling Venezuelan wrong? Venezuelan oil is not the same as Saudi/Middle Eastern oil because its composition is heavier and only certain refineries can handle it. Oh God, no, chat. Oh God, no, there's more things coming in. Oh God. Wait. Oh no. It's getting too nuanced. Can we go back to this? I'm learning too much. No. If that is true, I'm learning a lot. Anyways, no. Okay, so okay. I don't think it's that. You know what? I'm actually gonna close this and close this. Get an Ilya Rozanov booty. Understand Venezuela. Understand Venezuela. Chat. I think my take on the Venezuela situation is that I don't really think people have a good take on the Venezuela situation. I don't think I've seen the best takes on it. So my vote is still on one. I will tell you guys. I have now. To be fair, when I say I have Venezuelan friends, I know many Venezuelans. they're Venezuelan American, and they and their immediate families are very happy, but they're also Venezuelan Americans, right? So That's a little bit different. You know, they are immigrant, but they're, you know, so, but they're very happy with this. Yeah. So I don't know. You know what? Someone said to watch this. Hold on. Play. I wonder if we played it like 1.5. We'll see A-Track discuss it.
Cursed. If I take a day off Big A, will the events... Oh, my God. Yeah. World news happens, bro. The timing is ridiculous. I'm not even awake yet.
I don't know what he says.
We should stream the Trump presser. I'm not going to watch the full Trump presser because it's kind of long, but I watched the full thing. I took notes on timestamps and I put them in a presentation. Because there's at least 4 things that he said. I mean, at least 4. But there's 4 things that are like really insane with pretty insane implications. So I want to like break them down.
My mom is Venezuelan and she said it's like she got freed from Epstein's house and then went to a Diddy party. Yeah, so you know what? Without me trying to like be like, oh, what did this person say? What did this person say? I'm going to try to give you guys a brief, like a very brief of my understanding of some things with Venezuela. Okay. So first of all, Venezuela is an interesting economy in that it is deeply tied to natural resources, not just oil, but also gold, but largely it's oil. I don't fucking know when, but at some point they nationalized the oil. There's like one company that controls it all. When Hugo Chavez took power, notably, they replaced a lot of there's 2 important things. There was a massive strike and firing of like close to like 20,000 workers in this industry that happened in the early 2000s that really disrupted. Okay, that's an important timestamp. Number 2, another thing that happened is Hugo Chavez, Maduro's predecessor, laid off a bunch of people and basically installed his own like close people into power because basically whoever controls the oil in the country controls the country. So the placement of positions in why can't I remember the name of it? It's like it's PLVD. It's something Venezuelan oil or whatever. Anyways, it's a position of political power. So you and your administration want people appointed there to control it. It's complicated because it's the U.S. under Trump's control that's getting involved. PDVSA. I mean, I can also working class hero. What if instead of us watching Atrioc, what if I try to go through it? Because, oh my God, I've also studied some of this stuff. So if it wasn't Trump, people wouldn't react this way. I kind of agree. I actually kind of agree with that. I mean, weirdly enough, there's like a famous Biden tweet. There's a famous Biden tweet where Joe Biden was basically like, Trump is going to be way too soft on Maduro. I'm going to be hard on Maduro and help free the Venezuelan people. Like, it was a Biden tweet during the election. No, people would. I tend to think that people's initial reactions, I think people initially do this. Okay. I actually will sort of talk about this. I think people see this and we're like, there's like the US/Trump equals bad. Therefore, this is bad. And then there's people who are like US/Trump equals good. Therefore, this is good. I think this is a framework that a lot of people subconsciously use. And I think a lot of people who is seeing good? Well, yeah, it's a sports mind. Well, okay, so we can go through, in fact, instead of like sort of good or bad, let's go through like possible, like sort of, so first of all, the state like Venezuela was in a really bad place. Like it was not good. So as in like the people of Venezuela were not thriving under Maduro. It was pretty bad. We won't even get into like human rights, like beyond just like basic things of human rights violations of economic mismanagement. But like the long story short is like with Venezuela, you had huge economic mismanagement. And people are like, because of American sanctions. No. Not because of American sanctions. I'm gonna stop you there, and I'm going to tell you the economic mismanagement of Venezuela is not because of US sanctions. You could say it factored into it, but it's a small part of it. That's nice to put. Yeah, economic mismanagement / corruption. I mean,
Blau
it was
is the Nelson Mandela of our time.
Yeah, it's pretty. So yes, but how can you walk if you already start with one leg? Okay. So someone in chat said, so I'll try and respond to chatters' comments. How can you walk if you are acting like it started with sanctions? It didn't start with sanctions. The corruption and mismanagement of a graph of this. It didn't start like we didn't just. It's not like Hugo Chavez came into power and we just put sanctions on Venezuela. I love Blau, but please don't take one streamer's opinion without evidence as gospel. Chat, first of all, the most important lesson today, don't get your political opinions from Twitch streamers, myself included. I have a degree in political science from UChicago. That makes me the smartest idiot in the chat, but still an idiot. Thank you. Don't get your fucking political, like, I don't know how to explain this to you guys. Like, you guys understand. You guys have to understand. Blau becoming Aspen Gold. I have a degree in political science, which makes me a fucking idiot. In fact, if anything, at best, that just means I think I'm smart when I'm actually fucking stupid about all of this. That is the best way to put it. I have a undergraduate bachelor's degree in political science. Does that mean I know what the fuck I'm talking? I'm a Twitch streamer. Okay? Okay, but if streamers don't talk about politics, y'all get mad also? Wait, I never said that. I don't think streamers should talk about politics. I'm an engineer, bro. I know oil. Oh. Wait, do you guys want, do you guys want to talk about the oil? This is cool, actually. So oil. Saudi / Middle Eastern oil is lighter and more easily refined. How this plays into global economics is that you can ship crude oil to more countries that can then refine it locally. Venezuelan oil is very heavy. There are limited refineries that can handle it. Most are US based and have been designed so since the 1920s, 30s. Anyways, so did you guys know this, by the way? Mushu Dragon, thanks for the prime. Wasn't the oil US yeah, I fact checked that about having heavy oil. It seems legit. Oh shit. Wow. Interesting. Anyways. This is the most important lesson. Anyways, so I think the whole situation is like if you guys want my take on Venezuela, I don't know. Now I could discuss a bunch of long-term things. So there's interesting things to discuss, right? First of all, there's the United States, like we can also talk about like, and maybe we should start with this. We could talk about like what actually went down, which is that the United States came in and basically kidnapped their president. Like we just fucking swooped in and grabbed their president. Okay. That's pretty wild. Now a lot of people are like, well, that sets a bad precedent because now other people are going to do it. Maybe. Maybe. It's not just wild, that is unconstitutional. I don't know if it's okay. There's another. Okay, we need to pause. I don't know if that's unconstitutional. I think a lot of people are throwing out words and throwing out like certain things about this without, like, especially legal jargon. There's like, what are you allowed to do as the president of the United States versus what are you allowed to do, or like, what do we say international law does? In the United States, the president is allowed to use military power without the permission of Congress. I don't think it actually is a violation. What I'm saying, you need Congress for an act of war. You don't think taking a president is an act of war? I mean, I don't know. How do you? I don't know. You know what I mean? I think hashtag understands. I think you need congressional authorization for more prolonged deployments. I think people think that like the Constitution like wrote out like an act of war, like in like the Constitution in, was it written in 1776? An act of war. Thou shalt not abduct foreign leaders. Like, it's not written that way. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not how it's written. It was 1787, actually. You know what I mean? But it definitely violates international law. Blau, anyone with a brain would consider taking a president as an act of war. I think it's more nuanced than that. I mean, for instance, do you want me to play devil's advocate? For instance, a lot of people would say that we didn't abduct the president of Venezuela, that Maduro was not the rightfully elected president of Venezuela. Weirdly enough, those same international laws and a lot of the international committees are the same ones that would claim that he's actually not the rightful president of Venezuela. Oh, now we're in like a tricky spot. So did we just conduct a raid to get and again, I'm not saying whether this is, I'm just trying to like go through, like, you realize like the Trump administration and the U.S. administration will argue this in the courts that like they're going to basically say, well, we just went and took a narco terrorist, right? I don't think he has an ICC warrant though, but how does an ICC warrant interplay with U.S. constitutional law? You guys see what I'm saying? I think a lot of people are saying a lot of things very confidently and not really knowing whether it's true or not. Rightful or not, he was the acting president. Oh, so we have it written somewhere in our laws that it is an act of war if the United States sends in a Delta SEAL team and abducts the president, and we consider that's an act of war. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to play devil's advocate with you guys a little bit. You know? It plays with the sovereignty of another country. Whoa, pause. Okay. Constitution, U.S. Constitution does not equal international law. Devil's abacus. Yes, Congress has final say whether we attack another country. Blau, you are going way too far with this. If you steal sheep from China, they will declare war on us. It is an act of war. Yeah, if it's China. Oh, so China and Venezuela are, we view them in the sort of same lens. That's why it's tricky. Like, again, we're dealing with, like, you know, that's what I'm saying. It's a complicated thing. War Powers Act. Blau, the War Powers Act allows the president to command military for military actions for brief periods without Congress's approval. This is how the U.S. has conducted every war without needing approval for a declaration since Vietnam. And also, I'm sorry, but chat doesn't know this. They probably aren't qualified to talk about it. Yeah, chat, I don't know how to explain this, but Trump didn't break any U.S. laws. I just need to write this out. Trump did not violate U.S. Constitution or U.S. laws. Just like full stop. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say Trump. I'm gonna say the U.S. Because if I say Trump, people are gonna lose their minds. The U.S. did violate many international laws. Blau, you are ignoring that there are still boots on the ground, that this is an ongoing military action. Yet. There you go. I got you. I amended it. No worries, working class here. I got you. I'm not, by the way, I'm not saying law is, but chat, I'm not saying law is good or bad. I'm just explaining the reality of it. I don't really think this, like, you guys realize this is like the United States has operated this way for a long time. Wow, you just tossed an active grenade. You're going to hate this. I'm just trying to like explain. Yeah, I'm not saying it's, I haven't said whether it's okay or not. I'm just trying to tell you guys that like this is just how the United States has done our military operations. You're saying, wait, you're saying Iraq was done with congressional approval? Yeah, but we've conducted a bunch of military operations without congressional approval. Arguing primarily on laws in this situation misses the forest for the trees. 100% agree. 100% agree.
Blau, you should not listen to my political takes because I believe that we should erase borders and live all together happily.
Yes, I always say that. Yes, exact. Guys, we should just erase all borders. Sing Kumbaya. Yo, just join. What is the goal of this conversation currently? To try to understand the situation with Venezuela. So I think there is like a charitable, there's like a charitable view and an uncharitable view. Okay. I'll give you guys, well, I feel like I have to start with the uncharitable view so the chat, like, because chat's going to lose. Okay. So the uncharitable view is this. Gross overstep of presidential powers. So like it'd be like, this is a simplification, but like domestically, Venezuela, power vacuum created, people's plight will only worsen. International will embolden other countries to take similar action. Yeah, you could even do like China and Taiwan. Yeah. Decreases trust in U.S. as a leader. So cool. So this is the like, would you guys agree that like, is this like a very brief summary? Is this a very brief, like, can you guys, like, this is the like, not gonna say uncharitable. We'll just say this is like the critical view. And then you could also say like U.S. military unnecessarily involved. Yeah, something like that. Missing one point, Blau. Every time the U.S. messes with a Latin American country, it's bad for the country. I don't know if that's always true. I think it definitely has been true for some countries, but not for all of them. That's another interesting one of like, when the U.S. gets involved with a country, is it always bad? I would argue ever since, and listen, post Henry Kissinger, track record wasn't good. Pre Henry Kissinger, it was pretty good. Of pre-Henry Kissinger? Give one example of pre-Henry Kissinger. Oh, wait, of a South American country or a country in general? South American country? I don't know which one. Oh, South American? No. I don't have a good one for South America. That's why I was saying post-Henry Kissinger. Of any country that benefited from U.S. intervention. Well, okay, that's cheating, because I would just tell you, the largest economies in the world, Germany, Japan, and South Korea. That's why I said pre-Henry Kissinger. I mean, people kind of forget that that Japan is Japan got shafted during the Plaza Accords. I want you to know. Okay, wait. Can I ask you something honestly, chat? Do you guys think that for what Japan did during World War II, you realize they got out of that pretty fucking well? You know what I mean? What do you think would have happened if the U.S. and the Allies lost? What do you think would have happened? I think this is the problem. When chat is like, what? Question mark? What? ... What do you, how can you say it? Guys, I'm going to tell you something. Japan and Germany got out of World War II pretty well for what they did. What do you guys think? I really want to know what you guys think how the world should operate. Do you guys actually think that everyone just, I genuinely think you guys think that the world just holds hands and sings Kumbaya. No war. Guys, I just don't like war. Any war's bad. That's crazy. The only country to hit with nukes doesn't sound like they got off easy. What's your, you know what? Maugs, I'm going to let you have the floor. You got to be the tweet. What do you think should have happened? Blau, can you please educate us and yourself on what the emergency powers by law are meant to be used for and how this is different from any other action we have taken publicly? Working class here, I feel like you're a little hung up on this point. I'm just saying that the United States, the president of the United States, is allowed to use military action without asking for Congress. This power has been something that U.S. presidents have consistently been using for the last couple decades and have been increasing with their ability to use. So I don't, and maybe I'll be proven wrong in the U.S. courts, but so far I don't actually think that this violates U.S. law, at least my understanding of it. They can only take action, but only if imminent threat. Yeah, they're going to argue that it's imminent threat. You guys are, I think the problem is you guys are arguing with me like I'm the fucking court that's going to oversee this. I'm not the court that oversees this. Blau, did these countries get better because of the U.S. or their own ingenuity? Japan and Germany and South Korea also, again, I want to be, did they get better because of the United States? Yes. Yeah, yes. The United States literally rebuilt those countries. I don't know how to explain that to you. Guys, I think one thing that will help you guys is some things can be true and other things can also be true. This is a really useful framework. For instance, the United States has helped rebuild countries successfully. The United States has completely fucked over countries by attempting regime change. Notably, oftentimes in South America. Those two things can be true. Blau, Trump literally stated to all of America it was for oil, not imminent threat. He can try to argue imminent threat, but we have him on tape on why he... Working class hero, come on. You know that that's not... You think that they're going to bring that up in the tape? They're gonna post all of the documentation that basically was like, we were acting because of threats of narco terrorism or because of this. And that's like, sure, we all know it was for oil, but like, they're gonna have their justifications for why they did it. Like you think that Trump at a press conference is the thing that's gonna hold sway in the courts? Like, come on, dude. Like I'm just I don't again, I think you guys are acting like I'm the fucking courts. Even Biden wanted Maduro's head. Yeah, wait, where's the? Hold on, this is a funny one. Hold on. Yeah, to be clear, like I think a lot of people, if I was to give you guys my general take on the situation, I think it's precarious. I think it's precarious. I'm interested to see what the fallout will be, but I don't think it's as black and white as people are making out to be. I've seen people. This one, yeah. Trump talks tough on Venezuela, but admires thugs and dictators like Nicolas Maduro. As president, I will stand with the Venezuelan people and for democracy. Oh my God, that means he's going to honor the elections where they didn't elect Maduro, and he's going to instill the proper leader of Venezuela. Let's go. Wait a minute. That is a fence-sitting take. SMH. Blau, I am asking if you think it was an act of war, not if the legal framework thinks it. And I'm telling you, working class hero, it doesn't matter what I think. That's why I'm telling you, it doesn't matter what I think. I don't really know. Why does it matter if I think it's an act like that? That's not an act of war is not a Blau. That is not a Blau paradigm. I don't go around the world like judging things. Is this an act of war or not? Because courts can be corrupt and wrong. Listen, bro. When chatters, do you want to know what's an act of? When chatters come into my chat and say CG on top, I think that's an act of war. Okay. Why the fuck are you asking me as a Twitch streamer if I think it's an act of war or not? That's my point, chat. I'm not a fuck. You guys are watching Twitch streamers trying to understand this and not getting that this is not a Twitch streamer thing to decide. That's what I'm saying is like, it's a bunch of like, you have a bunch of people opening up Twitter links and watching shit and not actually the people who are making these decisions, who are making the policies, deciding that stuff. We are asking for your take. The only take that matters is that I think that the administration will show that this is not an act of war. That's the only take. I think that's what they will demonstrate. Does that make sense? Wow. So you are giving your opinion either. I gave you. So do you agree with the administration? I don't know. I don't know. This just happened. I don't know. Are you a leftist or am I going through like a purity test? I don't know because I don't know all of these things. This just happened. I'm still like, my chat GPT hasn't caught up to explain all the nuances of Venezuelan politics and oil. This is what's crazy to me. I wrote this earlier. I don't know. Blau, Jews, or are you? Yeah, when someone asks, "Are you a leftist? Are you a communist or not?" Like, guys, isn't that? Hey, Grok, fast forward the politics section. Like, Blau, we just want you to be honest. If you think Trump did it for oil, and like the reasoning, and not because there was an imminent threat. This is just sure. Yeah, no, I think the reasoning for this. Yeah, sorry, but you're asking me if I think it's an act. Like this is a different question than what you asked, and that's important. Obviously, the United States did this for control over Venezuela's oil reserves, chat. Like, I'm not fucking dumb. What? But you asked if I thought it was an act of war. And I told you I don't. Like, you asked me different questions. What? Then you agree it is against the law because that is against the law. No, it's not. No, that's not how it works. Oh my God, working class hero, I love you. By the way, hey chat, can we spam? You know what? Let's take a quick break. Spam W's in the chat for working class hero who gifted 100 subs off stream when I wasn't even streaming. W's in the chat for working class hero. W's in the chat, fucking legend. Guys. need a break. So we're invading countries now for their resources. Here's the question. Here's actually an interesting question. And again, if I was to tell you, so this is what so I had two Venezuelan friends who messaged me about this, and I was and one of them is very smart. Harvard educated, better school than I went to. So they're like, of idiots in the world, they're one of the smarter idiots in the world. So I was asking them for their sort of their thoughts and takes on this. And their brief take was they think that this is obviously a very beneficial thing for the United States. And it's a strategic move for the United States. But they also think that, or they hope that long term it will be better for the Venezuelan people. There is a world where that actually plays out, chat. Because you have to understand that under Maduro, the Venezuelan people were basically fucked. And the mismanagement of their natural resources and their oil was pretty bad. You know what? And Liz here makes an interesting point. I mean, we can look at the Middle East if we want to see what happens when you take a dictator out and then leave the people to figure out. They end up being worse off in a lot of ways. Not saying we want the dictator. We need a system to help people there after. So this is another question, which is, what, and this will be an interesting case. What happens next? So, for instance, if I was in college right now, a really interesting political science paper would be to measure the demonstrable effects on Venezuela. So, for instance, I don't know how we got to this. Doing a longitudinal study over the next 5-10 years to see how much does this help or hurt their infrastructure, access to healthcare, GDP of the country, standard of living. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. We'll see. I've heard some people say that the remaining parts of Maduro's cabinet, who would have the easiest route to replace him, are more competent than him. Yep, maybe. But Maduro's VP replaced him, does it? But again, do you guys understand why it's like this is definitely like a I don't know? Now, weirdly enough, I will say this. I would say Libya, Iraq, and Syria. I actually genuinely think that situations in the Middle East are demonstrably different than Venezuela. But that's like for a whole other stream for why we would go into that. Can't live in the in-between, must take a side. Oh gosh, I need to know where Blau stands on this. I also believe the U.S. really wants to shift its dependency on Middle Eastern oil so it can further support Israel. And guys, you gotta listen. You guys gotta. You've been watching too much Assad, man. You just think Israel's at the heart of everything. How about this? I also believe that the U.S. just wants a fuck ton of oil, not to depend. You realize the U.S. relationships with Saudi Arabia have never been better. Like what? You wait. That's great. Do you think the Middle East? Do you think that the parts of the Middle East that have the most oil hate Israel? How do you think the Saudis' relationship with Israel is? Why do you think Hamas attacked Israel when they did? Anyways. Guys, the U.S. is not dependent on Middle Eastern oil extracts, which will yeah, listen, like governments and people are different. You can go to Saudi and see how the people think about all of it. Well, again, I'm just letting you guys know that prior to the was October 8th attacks, October 7th attacks on Israel, a lot of the sort of things leading up to that were because of closer relationships between Israel and Saudi Arabia, which Iran viewed as a threat. And hence Iran then wanted to help Hamas carry out that attack. And again, I feel like a lot of times a way of understanding when I talk about politics, I try to, instead of telling you guys and morally telling you guys what you guys should think is good or bad, I try to just describe the countries acting like pieces on a chessboard, like plays being made on a chessboard and why they are making those plays. Which is why, again, from the United States perspective, Or because Gazans were fed up with not being able to live in isolation with no outside. I mean, yeah, no, that was part of it. But also, I mean, Iranian funding of the attack was pretty critical for them to carry out that attack. Wait, pause the chat. I know you're talking about news stuff, but wanted to let you know my son who watches you, Goalie U8, got a shutout today and admires it. Yo, chat, W's in the chat for Last Boss's son. Let's go. Got the shutout? Fuck yeah. Let's go. I think the situation with Venezuela is interesting because it's requiring people to realize that multiple things can be true about a situation. And that it's not like I just don't know if it's like, you know, so hockey guys, Winter Classic. Classic Blau, yeah. Like, listen, that's what I'm saying on the Venezuelan situation. If you guys want my take, my briefest of takes, okay, and you genuinely want me to not just like sit on a fence and talk about things in like nebulous strategy terms, I tell you guys this. I'm unsure. I'm genuinely unsure of what the implications of just being able to go in and like take out a president are. Like, that does seem kind of fucking crazy. Might cause problems down the line. And I don't know how that is going to affect international relations, how other countries deal with us. If it's going, you know, I don't know. I'm inclined to think that that's a little bit fucking crazy. But on the flip side, there is something to be said that by doing it that way, you might be able to avoid other more prolonged conflicts. And, you know, it gets tricky because I don't think the situation in, say, Venezuela is the same as the situation in Iraq, is the same as the situation in Libya. So that part's complicated. I will tell you guys, I'm genuinely hopeful for Venezuela, at least from my, you know, I'm now not talking politics. I'm just talking about me, Blau, the person, and my Venezuelan friends are pretty happy. Like very happy. They're like, this is like the first time that we've been allowed to have hope. They're not fucking delusional. They're like, yeah, like it's pretty obvious the US did this for fucking oil. But even still, it then gives us a chance at actually self-determination for our country. So I think that's a perspective that a lot of people might be missing here is like, I don't know how the fucking Venezuelans feel about it. But I also think there's misinformation there too. A lot of people are seeing Venezuelan Americans talk about it, not necessarily, and full disclosure, that's my friends. They're Venezuelan American. Although some of them, one of my friends, his full family immigrated. The other friend does have family in Venezuela. And they are very much like, yeah, we're fucking excited. We're about this. When your country can be invaded without question, are you serious? I don't think that so let me explain it from their perspective. Their perspective is our country was not invaded without question. Their perspective is the illegitimate dictator of our country who has mismanaged our economy and led us into a horrible economic and humanitarian crisis just got ousted, and now we have a chance for self-determination. I think that's how they, and I'm not saying all Venezuelans view it that way, but my friends like uncles and aunts who still are in Venezuela, that's how they view it. So, you know what I mean? Like Yeah, and I think this is a point where it's like, yeah, sure, Iraqis also were like really happy initially when Saddam Hussein was toppled, but then it didn't play out so well. I do think, but I actually, when we say the situation is generally the same, no, I actually think the situation is meaningfully different. Meaningfully different. I think it was the Sunni. I think the Sunni support for Saddam Hussein is way stronger than any sort of support that Maduro would have had, like actual populist support that Maduro would have. But I mean, oh God, now I'm like actually like, having to talk about real figures and stuff. When every independent reporter is talking to the people in Venezuela, where 75% of the media is owned by the far right, talk to people who love Maduro, and our media tells us they all hate Maduro, I know who to believe. Wait. Listen, chat, this is one of those where I think two things can be true. Does it help Trump and the Republicans' narrative to paint Maduro as a really bad guy, as a really bad dictator that the Venezuelan people don't like, and who has done horrible things and mismanaged the country and brought economic ruin upon them? Yes, that is in their interest to have that narrative. Can that narrative also be true? Yes. Like, I mean, it wasn't just Trump and the right, who we were again, like, fucking 2020, or was 2022, 2020, like, I'm just saying, like, so I think that is where a lot of this gets complicated. You know what would make people's material conditions actually improve? Lifting economic sanctions. Again, my general understanding, and I could be wrong, of Venezuelan oil management is that the sanctions didn't really have the biggest impact on, like, I think Venezuelans, like, economic situation sure was affected by sanctions, but that's not why their shit got as bad as it did. Weirdly enough, the sanctions came basically, if you really want it, like, if I was to give you a brief timeline of the last couple decades in Venezuela, it would be terrible mismanagement of the economy, horrible leadership, which then led to fraudulent elections, which then led to sanctions. Now, maybe you guys are going to say that my timeline is wrong there, but that's my brief understanding of it. Yeah, how will this affect 2v2? Yeah, how will this affect 2v2 Sundays? Good point, or 2v2. How is it Blau understands so much nuance but doesn't agree that something can be illegal but not be proven in the court of law, like O.J. Simpson's murder? Working class hero, I think you really just gotta, like, I think you gotta drop this, man. I think you gotta drop it. Like, I don't know what to tell. Like, I don't know what you're like. I don't know what you're like looking for me to, like, admit here. Yeah, this was illegal. I said it. But I don't even know. I don't know. Like, I can't. I also, chat, I think I'm trying to discuss this with you guys to, like, have you guys maybe, like, I hope I'm not like causing you guys to get flustered or upset. If anything, I want you guys to, maybe consider a bunch of stuff. I do think that this is like, I think this is a meaningfully like kind of complicated and nuanced situation. I don't think it's as easy as the United States liberated a country from an evil dictator, WS, nor do I think it's the United States just stole all the resources and oil from this country. It's modern day colonialism, United States. I don't think it's as simple as that. And I think we need to learn more and wait and see. Is as easy as the United States is evil invading Latin America. Again, it's not that deep. Well, I can only, then on the personal note, I can only tell you like what my two Venezuelan friends and their family members have thought. And they seem cautiously, how I would describe their tone was cautiously optimistic. I also disagree with this. I think the only people with the right to complain are the people of Venezuela, which they like. Chat, I want to be very clear. There's also a world where even let's say a poll comes out. And it turns out that the majority of Venezuelans actually support the United States actions here, and they are happy about this. That doesn't necessarily mean it was a good thing. It might have been a good thing for Venezuela, but if, say, you're Colombian, maybe it's not a good thing for you because now you are worried that there is a heavily allied U.S. state next door, and you're worried that the U.S. might just go and fucking impose themselves on you at some point, right? You see what I'm saying? That's why I'm saying it's like it's complicated. Like, fuck. Saving this for 20 years later when you're suddenly against the devastation and occupation in Venezuela along with the rest of the libs. I don't know if I'm actually with the rest of the libs on this. I actually don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in Venezuela. I don't know. Draven Osley said, I'm Colombian and I want you to know I'm happy about this. Oh, wait a minute. Draven Osley, you're telling me that there's Colombians that could be happy about this because, and if for some reason, if things played out and like the, like economic and social welfare of the Venezuelans increase, that it could actually be beneficial to the Colombian people because then you would have less of an issue with you'd have less migration issues, you might have a better trading partner, etc., and that Colombia may, like, oh my god, it's almost like there are differing perspectives on this because no one knows how this might play out. This is another one. People are like, what if someone came in and took Trump? And took over I like this. This is where I get confused. You guys realize that that's just not how the world works, right? Like, you can't just, you know what I mean? Right? What do you mean? That's just not, but the U.S. just did that. It's like, well, but that's different, you know? He just did the same. Oh my God. So you're telling me, wait, is that, oh my God, is it like chess? If you just take the king, you just own the country then? Wait, that's awesome. You're telling me that China could just capture Trump and just take over the US? Oh God, guys, we better look out. That's what they did. Oh no. Okay, but I'm joking around with you guys, but I'm trying to be like, I think a lot of people do this other thing of false equivalencies where like, well, this happened in this country, which means it can happen in this country. And it's like, no, that's just not what happens. That's just not. It's different because exceptionalism, guys, what the U.S. does is not the same because they're special little guys. No, I'm also telling you that there's other countries that the United States would not and could not go and take the president of them. I don't know. Like, I don't know how to explain that to you guys. Like, for everyone's like, oh my God, the U.S. can just go around taking president heads of states. Like, well, yes and no. Of certain countries, yes. Of most countries, no. They can't do that. They just wouldn't. I don't know. It's so it is exceptionalism then. I mean, other countries have Joey Pants. Other countries have also done, I would say, similar actions, just not. I think the thing is there is exceptionalism, as in America is exceptionally good at doing this. In the last 100 years, there have been any number of assassinations, regime changes. I feel like sometimes you guys like only look at like US centric history and don't realize that throughout the world, any number of these things play out in smaller theaters of operation throughout the world of countries doing this to each other. The exceptionalism is that the United States has Delta Squad and has like our fucking insane ability to just do it this quietly and effectively. That's the difference. I think this is probably, I think, one of the more interesting aspects of this is does this embolden China, or does this concern China? I could see the arguments one way or the other. China's like, well, we could use this as justification then on the international scale for why we would engage Taiwan and take it back. On the flip side, and by the way, the counter argument that you guys have to the counter argument is the current administration. And again, you guys, I know everyone's like, oh my God, it's Trump doing that. It's not Trump doing this. He has there's an entire sort of political vessel behind Trump that is orchestrating these strategic objectives for the United States. And one of those might actually be, hey, by doing something this sort of brazen and like cavalier, is that we're basically saying like, hey, we're like, we don't give a fuck. And a more active and aggressive U.S. military presence might then be a deterrent to China. Again, when I describe these things, I am not saying what I think is good or bad. I'm just describing what could happen. I don't know. Remember my political beliefs, chat. I don't think we should do any of this. Chat, do I think that we should be abducting presidents? No. I think that's bad. I think abducting people is bad. I think that war is bad. I think that we should all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. I think that everyone should just be happy and no one should be mean. That's my political take. but then, we don't live in a world where we all sing Kumbaya. And so I try to like evaluate things as like why, like what could happen as a result of certain things. Crazy to say after doing the deed as an American. What you act like, bro? I feel like, Chad. Am I crazy? I sometimes feel like when I talk politics with you guys and lurkers. Can you guys say? I feel like there's a lot of lurkers who kind of like passively listen to me talk politics and like, oh yeah, like that is an interesting perspective, huh? Like, yeah, I guess that makes, I could see that might have been like a strategic consideration from the United States. Yes. And then I have other chatters who are like, how dare you condone that? It's like, guys, I'm just trying to like describe it and understand it. I'm not saying like what I think is good or bad. Like lurkers, I feel like I'm pretty clear when I'm like, hey, like let's try to like understand the strategic objectives of the United States, why they might have done this. Let's try to understand why, this country might be really against it, Yeah, wait, where is it? And then, yeah, most importantly, oh, wait. Forgot that one. As a lurker, this is just better than the news. Finally, non-biased opinions. I'm going to be so honest with you, chat. I feel like most Twitch streamers, when they cover this, when they cover topics like this, they don't actually cover them. I feel like most people, when they give you guys your news, they just feed you the opinion that you want to hear. And you just hear over and over again that either the U.S. is doing a good job liberating people and that the Venezuelans are celebrating, and that's a good thing. Or you hear that the U.S. is corrupt and Trump is evil and we're taking oil and this is objectively a bad thing. Right? I feel like that's just the narrative that you are going to get when you go and I'm just trying to be like, okay, pause. Let's try to understand the different arguments from the different sides. And maybe understand like, okay, well, how would China view this action? How would Colombia view this action? Like am I crazy? Trump said he was taking the oil block. Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. But I again, there's the, and who knows, maybe I'll be so wrong about this, but what happens if the Venezuelan oil reserves are better managed and then the economic well-being of the people of Venezuela improves? Do you think that both of those can that be a true? Do you guys believe that? I'm not saying whether you think that will happen, but do you think it could happen? Is that a possibility? So some of you are like, no, that is not, there's no, you guys think objectively, there is no way in which Venezuelan people could benefit from this and that they could have better lives in the next 5 years than in the last 5 years. For what it's worth, I don't know if they will or not. I'm saying I do think it's a possibility. American oil companies are going to profit off it. I didn't say they're not. Again, this is the thing where I'm like, multiple things can be true. American oil companies can profit off it. The economic well-being of the Venezuelan people could also improve. And if you don't, I'm not saying whether you think it is likely or not, but if you don't even accept that as a possibility, I think you need to like reassess how you view the world. Blau, please state for the record that you were not joking about not forming our political opinions based on streamers. Oh, absolutely. No, yeah, that is not a joke. Do not get your political, like, chat. If anything, all of you guys should come away from this stream being like, wow, Blau doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I'm going to actually go and properly now go and research this and come to a better understanding of it myself. That's what I hope comes out of this. I hope you guys are like, damn, these Twitch streamers, including Blau, are fucking idiots. I'm now going to go and like actually try to understand this and not just research one perspective and one side of it, but actually try. Yeah, here we go. Most important lesson, don't get your political opinions from Twitch streamers, myself included. I have a degree in political science from U Chicago. At best, that just means I think I'm smart when I'm actually fucking stupid about all this. Thank you. Blau, your problem is you really never say anything. You're just vague about everything and don't stand for nothing. While nuance can be said about literally everything in the world, your own opinion also matters, not what you think will happen, because that doesn't really mean anything. WNet, fuck you, Hamoud. Hamoud, my counterpoint is that I think way too many people hold extremely unmoving, unchanging, unnuanced opinions about very complicated topics without ever examining them. And I think the vast majority of people, including Twitch streamers, including anyone, don't actually do what a political scientist does. Because if you're a political scientist, what you would actually do is you'd try to disprove what you view. In fact, here's what I encourage all of you guys to do. You want to, if you guys really want my advice on how to understand these topics, I want you to go and try to prove the other side right. That's what I want you to get off of your Twitter algorithm, get off of your TikTok algorithm, and go to the other side and see what they are saying and see if you can prove yourself wrong. That to me is one of the biggest issues with all of this, with the Asmongold's and the Hassans and all this, is all of you guys are inundated and swarmed with the same talking points and the same narratives that constantly reinforce a certain worldview. You never actually go and challenge those things to try to understand a better holistic picture. You view the world in black and white, and you never take time to try to understand that there are varying perspectives on this. And I agree. You know what, Paige? Better be quiet in our unopinion than to talk out of my ass about something you're completely ignorant about. Thank you. Because I don't fucking know. Because this just happened. Because I don't pay for Chat GPT Premium, and so it takes a longer time to process. When before I start my stream, I say, hey, can you give me a rundown on Venezuela so I can talk out of my ass and sound like I'm smarter than I actually am to my Twitch chat so that they can like me more? And if you guys actually sub to my stream, I could pay for Chat GPT Premium and I could actually try to sound smarter. Grok didn't tell me to think this way. The biggest question is this good for America and the world when we erode the checks and balances on the powers of the president? I don't. I actually genuinely don't know. I think this is one where I'm like, I'm really curious how this plays out. I think I don't know how the world's gonna
Education is
necessarily react
important,
to it.
but yeah, I don't know
When
about most
I am
things,
being
dude.
genuine when I actually could see it going two ways. I could see other countries being more concerned about taking aggressive action because they are worried about an aggressive United States. I could also see them being emboldened to go take aggressive action. Thank you, Resident Toby, for the tier 1 sub. Blau taught me to be red pilled. Thanks, Blau. Don't say that. Don't say that. Yummy red pill. Thanks, Blau. Look what Blau. No, guys, please. Here's what I learned on Blau's stream today. Look what Blau Tommy turns on Aspen Gold stream. The problem is when a country abruptly loses a big export product being drugs, some of the country will collapse. There isn't an alternative for people, villages, cities, states to earn money in that. Oh yeah. So this is, listen, I know we've talked a lot about oil and it is largely about oil, but you guys do have to understand that because of the mismanagement of oil refineries in Venezuela, which is a true thing. Like, and again, if you guys don't believe me, you can go pull up the graphs. You can see the mismanagement of Venezuela's oil resources long before the sanctions, right? So then, yeah, they were a lot like they were borderline narco state. I mean, I'm not gonna like fully go in with like what the fucking marching orders from the White House are about, like how much they're involved in narco trafficking, but they were genuinely like that was becoming a meaningful thing, right? But yeah, this is another thing. It's like collapse more than 250% inflation. Like you guys have to understand, it's like it's hard to get much. It's really hard for it to collapse more there. And weirdly enough, even if you stopped all of the drug trade from Venezuela, but you kickstart, like you actually managed their oil, that's worth way more than their fucking drugs. I don't think that drugs from Venezuela are like, I don't think they are a major thing, like as big of a thing as the fucking, yeah, I think that is like an overblown thing. I'm gonna be honest, it just sounds like you like this. At least for Venezuelans, because of for me, you want to know what I personally, I have two friends. One of them is Venezuelan, or both are Venezuelan American. One of them has their families all in the United States. They all immigrated. They are very happy about this. My other friend, he and his parents are here. Their uncles and aunts and the rest of their family are still back in Venezuela. Both of them and their families are very excited about this. The way I would say is they are cautiously optimistic. So if you want to know how I view it, I think for Venezuela, I actually am cautiously optimistic. There, I said it. I'm cautiously optimistic for Venezuela. For the United States and for our international relations, I am concerned. I am genuinely concerned about what this may do in terms of the impact in the international world. There. Oh my God, it's almost like I can hold two different perspectives based on what group is being affected in one way or another. Is that so crazy? let's be real. Venezuela won't see any money from the oil, and neither will any U.S. citizen see any money from it. I want to tell you something. The Venezuelan people will see more money from the oil. They will see more because they weren't seeing any before. Trust me, you can't go lower than zero. So, like, it really is one of those. It's like, not to say that the U.S. oil companies aren't going to profit off of it, but you know. Not crazy at all. You're explaining everything perfectly. I'm trying as best I can. This would be the first and only country who ended up with a net positive effect from an American regime change. It would be the first, probably the first South American country that could end up with a net positive from American regime change. Yeah. There's other countries that have. Random user one. I mean, listen, everyone gets mad at me when I go this. I'm not allowed to go this far back in history, but like, I mean, Japan's a pretty obvious one. And you have to admit, when it is a success, it's a pretty big fucking success, you know? But I guess I again, it's like I don't think that you get to have the like hypercritical viewpoint of the United States as a superpower without also recognizing where like the successes of it as a superpower, if that makes sense. Like you don't just get to pick. Japan and Korea are shadow puppets for the US. Yeah, listen, let me tell you something. That is crazy. I too, listen, I'm going to be honest. If I helped wage one of the most horrific war probably in all of human history, and then went and did what I did to the fucking Chinese people, what the Japanese Empire did, and then somehow came away with that with the fifth largest economy and some of the best standards of living and being the like best country 50 years later, like, oh shit, they kind of got away with that. I'm not gonna lie, chat. You can, but I think the failures outweigh the successes. Oh, I don't know if they do. I don't know, actually. That is another one I don't know. I think a lot of, like, this is probably an area where I would like very much disagree with Hassan. I think a lot of people, and I think it's good to hold the US to a very high standard and be very critical of the US. But for instance, my like a counter worldview is like, what happens if the United States goes completely isolationist after World War II? I don't know. Like, the answer is World War III, 25 years later. Yeah, Europe has Russia as its official language. A healthy Iraq, Libya, Syria. Krams, I think you would have a Russian Iraq, Libya, and Syria. I'm going to be so honest with you. I don't think what do you that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I'm like, I don't. I my view of the world and global politics is not like, oh my God, I am not like the US is bad. They destroy these countries. They only want oil. They are the it's not that. But my view is also, hell, let me tell you what, US spreads democracy and spreads freedom. Everything the US does is good. It's like, that's why I'm trying to tell you, it's like, it's just not that simple. It's, I don't know, man. Like, hey guys, hey, I read this in this voice. Hey guys, it's extremely nuanced. Please think for yourselves. That's a bit of America brainwash. The USSR was not just Germany V2 and didn't have designs on world domination. Well, I don't know about world domination, but I feel like sometimes people think that the United States has a monopoly on imperialism. The United States does not have a monopoly on imperialism. I want you guys to know, China is an imperialist country. For all of the people who are like, oh my God, I fucking love China. I'm in my China era right now. China is an imperialistic country. They are constantly engaging imperialism right now. Like, I just want trains. Shut up, Blau. China does not invade other countries, though. You know what's funny though? There's also this is a real if you guys want a really interesting, I forgot the name of this. It was I think it was called, I think it's like a book called like Colonialism in the 21st Century. It's really interesting because one of the reframings of colonial thought in the 21st century is that you don't actually have to just go and invade a country to take it over. For example, a really good example of colonialism in the 21st century is China's infrastructure investments and business investments in the growing African countries, especially a lot of the ones in West Africa, I think. Yeah, I think West Africa. So, and they really amped this up during COVID. So basically what happened is, to help support a lot of these countries during COVID and the economic crisis that was causing, China funnels money into these countries to support them. And what's interesting is the way colonialism looks in the 21st century is it can kind of look beneficial. It looks like you, and again, it's also like one of those things where I actually don't know if you guys would view it as bad or not, because it's one of those where China has extreme investments in African countries. But to be fair, the people in those countries also benefit from that investment. So I mean, in a lot of right now, I would tell you that China is engaged very actively in a version of 21st century colonialism but it's not, it's not colonialism, right? Because we're not actually establishing colonies. It's not, again, the biggest play now in the 21st century is not about actually managing territories. It's about managing financial markets and the investments in infrastructure in these areas. Stop. No, Blau, stop. Pause. Remember, chat, don't get your political opinions from Twitch streamers, myself included. I have a degree in political. It just means that I think I'm smart, and I try to sound smart to you guys. I am not smart. I am not smart. So your takeaway from this China might kidnap Lai Ching-te now that the U.S. has paved the way for it as an option to do. Okay, let's go. Let's play that out. Let's play that out. So China captures the president of Taiwan, and then the Taiwanese people are like, why the fuck did you just capture our president? And their like entire political apparatus just continues working as normal. And they elect a new one. You guys know Maduro's not like, you know, they call Maduro, you guys know Maduro is a dictator, right? Like you guys know he like pretty obviously lost elections, but then just stayed in power, right? He has a cool mustache, you know. APAC, hey Blau, sponsor here. We know that you didn't show your Starbucks coffee that you ordered. I'm sure it's a mistake. Fix that. I fucking hate God, dude. I need to ban crabs this. Where are my resolutions? We need to actually. Oh, wait. Pause. It's not America's job to police South America. That's what the UN is for. What? Okay, by the way, if Naivety is in the chat, we were talking about this in the Discord last night. Can I show you guys the funniest message? I'm gonna expose Alex here. This might have been the funniest message I've seen. Hold on. Well, I'm gonna expose him. This was really funny. I have to expose him here. I gotta expose this one. Hold on. You know, this reminds me of this message. Hold on. I hope he doesn't get mad at me for exposing this, but this shit was funny as fuck. I just think an election is a safer way to overthrow a dictator than a bombing and abduction and then occupation. And I was like, wait, what? Wait, what? What? Wait, what? Guys, this is what I'm saying, where I'm like, that's why, guys, I agree. I don't think that I think that Maduro should have been like, hey, guys, I'm going to be honest. Like, do you know what I wish? I'm going to write Blau's, here's what I wish had happened. My political take. I wish Maduro would have realized he was not a nice guy and stepped down because he lost an election. That's what I think should have happened. Trump says he won't install the person who won the election and we will be taking over. So what's the goal of not to install the person who won? I don't think that you should install the person who won. In fact, if anything, do you guys want an actual, like, okay, this might be the hot take, but everyone's like, oh my God, the U.S. is taking. Yes, the U.S. Like if you do this, you like low key kind of have to like pseudo take over for a second. And then you let Venezuelan people decide their leader. You should not install someone just because they won an election previously, right? Like, I don't have a great book on how to do regime change. So far, I haven't really seen many countries do it very well. But probably the only way you can, if I was to write a book on the strategy of regime change, I would probably say that you need to do it really delicately and let the people choose. Working Class Hero said, Blau, so what is the goal? When do we know we can... Wait, where is it? I don't know. This just happened. I don't know. Trump doesn't give a shit about the regime. He just wants oil. The people are not a consideration, unfortunately. No, they are. They are. Not for the reasons you think, though. The people are a consideration. Again, if I'm Trump, they're gonna have a great booming oil economy, I tell you. So much oil, the best oil, right? If I'm Trump, I want the Venezuelan people to do well here because they're the ones who, that they're the human capital that and human labor that has to work to get the oil. Like you want, like, you know what I mean? Like you actually want, like, does that make sense? It's for, sure, it's for the wrong reasons, but if you're Trump and your goal is I want this oil, I'm selfish and greedy, you want the Venezuelan people actually to be pretty well off. Is that crazy? It's foolhardy to think there's a shred of altruism in. I'm not saying it's altruism. I'm saying it. That's like, I'm not saying whether that's Trump. I'm saying like, we can even stop saying Trump. I'm saying like the U.S. probably wants Venezuela to be a stable and not mismanaged country. The thing with Venezuela is its oil reserves are just so inherently tied into its politics and the management of the company or the country, and so much of the country is basically dependent on how well its oil reserves are managed. Blau, you sound so propagandist for the U.S. right now, to be honest. So, Muga, what would I have said? What would I have said there that wouldn't have, like, what, like, do you want me to lie then? Because lying would be, guys, I think Trump wants to go in there like the Hamburglar and take, like, the jars of oil that are there and put them in a bag and run away. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what do you think? What do you think oil reserves mean? Do you think that it's like a stash of gold doubloons and that the United States is just running around with like bags of the gold doubloons and running out of the? That's not how it works. That, like, I think you think that it's like some like heist that, oh, they just went and they stole all the oil. It's like, that's not how it works. Like, you need the entire country of Venezuela still has to be stable to get the oil. A heist, you say? We'll need a plan. Your best take so far was I don't know with Love and Peace. Ellie Gabby, that is my only take. Is I that is still my only take. I'm throwing out ideas and things that I think could happen, might happen, maybe should happen. I don't know. I'm watching this play out. I think it is crazy to me how confident you guys as chatters are and other streamers on Twitch are about this situation. I am shocked with how confident people can be. If Trump's saying he is going to govern there and no talk about self-governance, what are you talking about? I mean, listen, now maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I saw an image. I think it was like Trump photoshopped as Baron Harkonnen, and it's like him in the tub. It's like, my Caracas, my Dune, because Caracas is the capital. Anyways, unless Trump is installing, like the Harkonnen, like fucking, to go rule over the Venezuelan spice fields, right? I'm assuming at some point there will be a transition to the Venezuelan people. I think. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Cloud actually had, their oil is historically extracted through outside nations. It's sort of a win-win for both Venezuela and the U.S. But let's be honest, if Venezuela didn't have oil, then the U.S. would not care about them at all. Venezuela gets a new government, maybe, and the U.S. gets access to oil. And I might be, this is Cloud. This is kind of the general thing I'm seeing is I strategically, this looks like a win for the United States and a possible, but like a short-term win for the United States. I don't know how it will affect international relations, and a possible win for the Venezuelan people. What's the short-term win? The United States gains access to oil reserves that are worth more than the GDP of like every country in the world except for like probably like 4 or 5 of them. Like that is like, I mean, that's a strategic win. I'm just people act like when I say this, I'm like, yeah, let's go. I'm like, I'm saying this more from like the strategic perspective of the United States for like, don't get mad at me. I'm just talking about this shit. Fuck. How does that benefit the American people in everyday life? Did I say that it benefited the American people in everyday life? No, I said it's a short-term benefit for American strategic interests. Can you guys take a fucking international relations course like one fucking time? What were the things? It's like what? What's the triangle of national interest? What? Fuck. Whatever. Dear Santa Blau, I want some Magnum condoms and a large cucumber. Wait. They just want to reinstate the U.S. oil companies that were kicked by Hugo Chavez, which took the country out of poverty. Now that is very, there's a lot of misinformation in that sentence. First of all, you guys realize that the United States has been involved with Venezuelan oil even under Hugo Chavez, right? Once again, I told you that a lot of the infrastructure for refining Venezuelan oil is done by the United States. Number one. Number two, I don't think Hugo Chavez took Venezuela out of poverty. Until the United States was booted. No. I think you guys think that there's like, do you guys think that there's like some like definitive date where all U.S. oil companies just weren't involved in Venezuelan oil? Like they were just kicked out and had no, like that never happened. I also think people think that like, I don't know if many of you guys know how like oil economies work. I think you guys think that's like, I feel like it's like, you guys think of it as like doubloons of gold. It's like, I have the oil. No, they took the oil. I don't have the oil. Guys, there is a massive, complex mechanism of oil economies and how this works. The extraction of oil, the storage of oil, the refinement of crude oil, the transportation and shipping of it. It's a very complex thing. There's a reason the U.S. companies were the U.S. companies weren't kicked out. Also, wait, and like what like do you guys think that like what is your view of the oil doubloons? Do you guys think that like, hey, the U.S. was kicked out and now all the Venezuelans have their oil doubloons? And like we're happy, or like do you guys not realize that it was other countries that literally were controlling Venezuelan oil? And then it was being mismanaged so poorly that there wasn't even that much oil being produced as much as there should have been under Chavez, and then even worse under Maduro. And then it was literally other countries that were profiting off of it. Like, please, if there's one takeaway from this, don't get your political opinions from Twitch streamers, myself included. Like, please come out of this conversation chat and be like, damn, I should go and like actually research this and try to figure this stuff. I will pay anyone here $1,000. Yeah, sit and get $1,000 if they can without help from oil companies. Take oil from a well and use it to fuel their car. Yeah, I just pump the oil. Now you are assuming the best for the U.S., Blau. Why couldn't it be that they kicked them because of bad contracts, etc., which happens a lot? What? I didn't say that there weren't bad contracts. I'm saying that there are still contracts. Like you guys, I think you guys are just misinformed. I think you guys think that the United States companies were not involved in Venezuelan oil. United States companies have always been involved in Venezuelan oil, even under Hugo Chavez. In some capacities, they weren't, and sure, they were probably kicked out of some areas of the operation, but they were still involved in other areas. Chat, are y'all really pacing? I feel like I'm being like Chat GPT. Like, Twitch streamer Blau just said this. Now I need to respond here. Skipped over what I had said twice. Sad face. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Yes, many U.S. oil companies were effectively pushed out of Venezuela starting around 2006, 2007, forced renegotiating, leading to the nationalization of assets and departure of firms like ExxonMobil and Congress. Yep, this is true. While not physically kicked out, these companies left due to unfavorable new state-controlled terms of risk, with some later winning billions in arbitration against Venezuela. Yeah. And there are still other parts of the broader oil trade that even those companies were involved in with Venezuelan oil, is what I'm saying. Bro, that's copy paste. Yeah, from a Google AI. Oh no. This is the problem. I feel like some of the, yeah, listen, general paratree. I feel like some of the longer messages I see from chat, I feel like someone has my stream up on the other, like they have another monitor up and they're just like, quick, Gemini, tell me what to say. Gemini, unshit my pants. My dad works for Venezuela. He said it's okay. Yeah, guys, Taco Mancer just said their dad works for Venezuela. They said it's cool. Guys, this is the most important lesson. All right. So I hope after this conversation, chat, we all know a little bit less. Jabe Nugler says, Blau currently is just stating objectives, truths. Why y'all disagree with it? I think this is something that does bother me sometimes, is when I talk about certain aspects of heated political things, I try to just like start with like things that happen and maybe like likely reasons why. But mostly I try to just like state like certain things as like, okay, like, yes, this happened at this time and this happened. And then people are like, yeah, but what about this? And it's like, well, I just haven't gotten to that yet. Like, I don't know. Or it's like not relevant to what, I don't know. Blau taught us all to be MAGA. Thanks, Blau. I think the most important thing is that Maduro was mogging during the prep walk. Honestly, Blau, if you scroll up in chat, there's two equally sized, similarly phrased. No shot. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, they didn't even copy it. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm getting AI bombed by chat. This is how you guys, and here's the problem. The problem with this is I am not saying that oil companies weren't ousted from contracts with Venezuela. I am saying that the broader oil industry and the process of refining and shipping oil and a bunch of other things that are involved in it, U.S. companies were still involved in. Like, do you guys see why that's a problem? Is because absolutely. Here's a clean, shiny, glazed message with just enough sparkle. Blau, genuinely, thank you for being such a constant beam of good vibes. Your streams have this rare magic where chaos, humor, and heart all somehow sync perfectly. You make people feel welcome just by being unapologetically you. And that energy ripples way farther than you probably realize. Massive respect, endless appreciation, and thanks for making the internet a little brighter every time you go live. Oh, fuck. And now they're facing this. Yes, major oil companies like ExxonMobil and ConocoPhillips were effectively forced out of Venezuela starting around 2007 under President Hugo Chavez's nationalization policies, leading them to leave after refusing to renegotiate contracts to give the state more control. What's crazy is it's so wild to me because I literally said that the broader mechanisms of oil economy are so, like, there's so many things involved in it, which is why U.S. companies are still involved in Venezuelan oil, even if those contracts were removed. That was basically what I was saying. And then people were like, yeah, but those contracts were removed. Like, I got fucking Chat GPT'd for it. Anyways, chat, I just wanted to thank you guys so much for supporting the stream. And I'd like to shout out Shell and Exxon Mobil for sponsoring today's stream. You guys can go further with Shell and go even further with Exxon. Thank you guys so much for sponsoring the stream. I'm just trying to, live I just want to go a little bit further,